didn't feel anything. It started with a quiet village, tucked away in the folds of post-Soviet Ukraine. A family, parents, children, even the dog, slaughtered in their own home. No warning, no clear motive, just silence, followed by fire. Police found nothing but ash and bodies. But this wasn't a one-time horror. It was only the beginning. The man behind it? His name was Anatoly Onoprienko, a name that for years sent waves of panic across the Ukrainian countryside. By the time it was over, he'd confessed to killing 52 people. No gang, no ideology, no purpose, at least not one that made any sense. Anatoly was born in 1959 in a small town called Zhytomyr. Life hit him hard early. When he was 4, his mother died. His father, a World War II veteran, didn't want the responsibility, so Anatoly was sent to an orphanage, left behind while his brother stayed with their relatives. That kind of abandonment, it leaves scars, deep ones. He would later claim that the moment his father gave him up, he stopped feeling anything. No love, no hate, just cold detachment. Kids in the orphanage remember him as quiet, withdrawn, intense, no outbursts, no fights. But something about him didn't sit right. As a young man, Anatoly tried to make something of himself. He joined a maritime academy, tried his hand at merchant shipping. It didn't last. He bounced between jobs, drifted across borders. And in the background, he was watching people, studying them. Something was bubbling under the surface, and no one noticed until it was too late. In 1989, he committed his first known murders. 10 of them, just like that. Quick, cold. He targeted people on the road, drivers, travelers, anyone alone. He'd stop them, shoot them, rob them, and vanish. No patterns, no connection, no mercy. But then, he disappeared. For years, nothing. The killings stopped. Police chalked it up to a one-time spree, maybe even the work of multiple people. But Anatoly had simply gone underground. He traveled through Europe, Germany, Austria, maybe even France. He lived under aliases, sold goods on the black market, stayed under the radar. But the killer hadn't left. He was waiting. By the mid-90s, Ukraine was going through a lot. The collapse of the Soviet Union had left the country in economic ruin. Jobs were scarce. Communities were isolated. The police force, underfunded, overwhelmed, and disorganized. It was the perfect breeding ground for fear. In 1995, Anatoly returned. But this time, it wasn't just travelers or loners. He started targeting families, whole families. He'd pick a house, rural, quiet, usually isolated. He'd break in at night. The father would be shot first, then the mother, then the children, then almost always he'd set the house on fire. There was no conversation, no demands, just death, fast and emotionless. He killed with a sawed-off shotgun, usually carrying an axe or crowbar for backup. He wasn't sloppy. He wasn't angry. He moved like a man on a mission. Sometimes he'd linger, eat food from the family's kitchen, take small souvenirs. Other times he left immediately, walking back through forests or hitchhiking to the next village. The brutality of it was staggering. Children weren't spared. Pets were killed. He erased households like he was crossing out names on a list. And yet, he had no list. The victims were random. He claimed he picked them by the lights in their windows. In just a few months, rural Ukraine went from peaceful to paranoid. If people stopped answering doors after sunset, they stopped turning on lights. Some families took shifts, staying awake through the night, armed with anything they could find. The police didn't have leads. There was no fingerprint database, no national profiling system, no connection between regions. By early 1996, the bodies were piling up. Entire villages were terrified. And the killer? He was invisible. He left little behind. No witnesses, no survivors. It was as if he'd vanish into the forest each time, swallowed by the very land he hunted on. One night, he broke into a house and shot a couple and their 2 children. He didn't even try to hide it, just walked right in like death in a winter coat. That same week, he did it again in another town. And again, sometimes days apart, other times just hours. Ukraine was in a full-blown panic. But while he was cold and calculated, he wasn't perfect. Eventually, he started making mistakes, leaving behind shell casings, being spotted by a neighbor. He even had an accomplice for a short time, a man named Sergei Rogozin. But even that didn't last. Anatoly didn't trust anyone, and deep down, he didn't need help. He was more than capable of doing it alone. During later interviews, Anatoly claimed he was chosen by a higher power, that he was a tool of fate. He believed the world was overpopulated and he was just doing what needed to be done. It wasn't personal, he said. He didn't feel anything. Not when he pulled the trigger, not when he watched families burn, nothing. There's something deeply terrifying about a man who kills without anger, without lust, without purpose, just a man doing what he thinks is right, while everyone else is running for their lives. By March of 1996, the authorities were closing in. Slowly, but it wasn't over yet. In fact, the bloodiest part was still to come. And in part 2, we follow the trail of destruction he left behind, and how one of Europe's deadliest serial killers was finally brought down